Very, very cool. Okay. Okay. I think we are ready. We are ready to rock and roll. Um, we are going to be joined by a third panelist in Filippo. He's running a little bit behind, but he will be joining us in a jiffy. We will be covering what the fastest growing D2C brands are doing differently in 2026 across email, SMS, ads, and CRO systems. We are looking at two brands in particular. Um, the first being Caraway, arguably the leading contender in the kitchenware space today, and Glossier, a brand that at its heyday was worth over $1 billion, one of the unicorn darlings of the D2C world. We'll assess where they're at today and what they're up to, and what we would do differently in each of their shoes. So without further ado, let's dive in. Just a quick intro. If you don't know who we are, I'm Josh Chin. I'm one of the co-founders and CEO of Kronos Agency. We're a retention and lifecycle agency for D2C businesses. We've done this for over 8 years, worked with over 500-600 brands to date, and have generated over $380 million in owned channel sales across email, SMS, and more. I'm joined with Nico. Nico, do you want to give yourself a quick intro?
Yeah, I'm a little sick, so if I sound ridiculous, that's why. But yeah, I'm Nico. I run a CRO agency called Bottomless Labs. We also work with some of the bigger players in the space, and we've had about $200 or $300 million we've optimized in the last 12 months, which is great. But I've been in the e-com DTC space for coming on 10 years now, which is insane. But yeah.
That's awesome. And you've been through the whole 9 yards, from owning your own DC business, having it sold, exited, and now on the other side, helping other brands find a success that you found.
Exactly. Yeah, running a brand is fun in some ways, but miserable in others. And I decided that was there's more fun in doing the stuff I liked, which was CRO and digital marketing, and less so the shipping and logistics and customer service. So that's why I'm all in on the agency side. But I've definitely been in the brand side shoes, and I understand it deeply.
Perfect, perfect. And soon we will be joined by Filippo, partner at Echelon, ex Google, ex Data Feed Watch. He personally manages many, many millions in spend, 20 million a month in spend for brands that we've all heard of. He'll be unpacking ads and specifically around Google and YouTube and all the cool stuff that they do and how they do things differently for Caraway and Glossier. All right, so diving right in, we'll start out with retention, with email and SMS, and we'll work our way into CRO and then ads. We'll start with Caraway and then we'll move on to Glossier. So jump right in. We're kicking things off here with Caraway, arguably a brand that is winning the kitchenware war right now. Now, when you look at the brand this size, now data sources start to get interesting. Some sources say that they do about 30 mil a year. I don't believe that. Some other recent tracking platforms suggest that they've seen upwards of 60 million in sales in just the last 6 months. But regardless, really exciting business. And here's the reality, regardless of the exact number. Caraway is a non-replenishable business. When you sell supplements or skincare, you kind of live and die by the 30-day rebuy. And Caraway sells high-quality ceramic cookware that's designed to last for many, many, many years, not just 30 days. This means that their lifecycle team has a completely different objective, different job description altogether. They're not nudging for a refill. They're fighting to accelerate that massive first purchase and increase basket depth before the customer even leaves. Today, we're looking at how the fastest growing brands in 2026 play the long game when there is no kind of next month reorder or repurchase to rely on. Okay, let's look at the front door. Caraway's lead capture is about as brand safe as it gets. It pops about 7 seconds in. It looks beautiful. You see pop. There you go. It asks one innocent question. What are you shopping for? Now, most of us look at this and think, all right, perfect. I'm segmenting. But if you actually walk through the journey, Caraway is actually, they're making a really interesting trade-off. They've decided to keep the entry point low gravity. They aren't trying to force you to a corner or hit you with a high pressure category pitch right away. Now, even at this level, things are not always perfect. If you pull this up on mobile, the layout is actually a little bit constrained and it gets partially cut off. You can see that on the right-hand side over here. So it's not great. On the scale of 2.5 million visits a month, and that's what they're seeing. This kind of technical friction is a silent killer. It's a leak micro, but compounds into real money left on the table. Now, this is it's an intentionally cautious approach. By prioritizing list volume and a premium feel, they are making sure that they're not scaring anyone off. But at the scale of millions of visits a month, it's really, there's a massive question on hand here. Are we just collecting names and emails? Or are we actually moving the needle on a purchase decision? So in 2026, the brands that are really pulling away are looking at this gap and asking, can we turn this navigation click into conversion to first purchase a little bit sooner and shortening that consideration window? Now, on another note, the only issue is obviously the fact that mobile isn't that pretty. It's not great. And it's concerning because the majority of users are going to be shopping on mobile if our suspicions are accurate. So moving deeper into the side, we now hit what I believe is Caraway's strongest lifecycle asset, their quiz. This is what the quiz looks like. It's amazing. It's brilliant. It collects data on how you cook, what you need, and then it hands you a personalized kitchen setup. But here's the thing, it's tucked away in the navigation menu. So they're basically waiting for the most motivated user to go find it themselves. They're prioritizing speed at the front door and keeping the deep guidance for serious shoppers towards the back. But when you're selling $400 set of pants, your biggest hurdle isn't going to be the price. It's the customer being unsure if they're picking the right one. So what happens when you stop treating the quiz as a side quest and start treating it as the main event during lead capture? Things are going to look really different. We looked at how a similar multi-step flow performed when the goal wasn't just about lead capture alone, but active guidance. And so check out these numbers that we collected from a test that we ran for a brand in the beauty space called Kyoko Beauty. They were in a similar spot, sure, replenishable products, but we initially started out with a standard kind of enter your email here for a discount pop-up. We swapped that into a full page gamified question for a 4-step experience, 4 steps, kind of similar to Caraway's, but we changed the why behind the steps. Instead of asking for what you're buying for, which is and a phone verification code right away, we started with a fun gamified question that ends up pushing them directly into a routine quiz. And standard kind of logic says that if the more steps you add, or even just taking up the whole screen, is going to kill your conversions. But the data told us the exact opposite. In the US, we saw signups go up by 66%, and actually, this may be actually Canada, and a massive 116.7% revenue jump. Huge. Actually, no, this is the US. In Canada, we saw signups go up even more, essentially doubled, 105.3%. And revenue nearly doubled. Um, why? Because the customers stopped becoming, being a browser alone, and they started becoming a participant. The second they answered that first question, the reason we're comparing these two is really kind of simple. Caraway has the kind of right infrastructure and process with the quiz, but they're treating it almost like an optional side quest. Kyoko proves that when you move that guidance into the primary flow, the natural kind of next step, you're not just adding steps, you're building the confidence that the customer needs to actually click purchase on a premium product. That's the difference between kind of just verifying a phone number and verifying a purchase. So just to show you quickly how it actually looks like. And then text, and then quiz. There you go, 4 steps. All right, you're going to get more material and deep dive out this webinar, so you can truly kind of sit down with the entire audit. So don't worry about kind of taking screenshots or videos at this point in time. We'll send this all to you and more so that you get fully supported. Okay, now everyone, let's look at what happens when a subscriber steps through the front door. We got them in the system, and the first piece of mail hits the inbox. Caraway does something here that most brands are too nervous to try. They don't lead with a loud discount code. They're so confident in their brand that they use this space for trust. Featuring a beautiful, a really clean layout and a note from a CEO and why he started the company. You just saw that. Another thing that they nail, restraint. It's what not to do. The focus is almost entirely on their flagship cookware set rather than trying to sell the entire catalog all at once. This keeps the buyer focused on the hero product that actually brought them to the business in the first place. But looking at the details, we see a subtle opportunity. Caraway offers free shipping over $90, but they don't provide a specific code. It's just a stated benefit. In a world where people are really just conditioned to look for a coupon code, a subscriber might just sit and wait for a code that isn't coming. The first SMS mirrors this. It's welcoming, but it links back to a general collection page rather than a specific buy now destination. So the only suggestion that we have at this point in time is not necessarily to remove the story or replace this email altogether, but to give it a little bit more teeth by pulling forward the hard facts on materials, on safety, the value proposition, durability, right alongside that CEO note. We're going to address objections a lot sooner in the process and in giving the customers confidence that they need to hit buy a lot sooner than they otherwise would be. Now, let's take a look at the other half of that first relationship kind of handshake, SMS. Caraway captures your phone number during that initial pop-up to ensure that they're reaching you where you're most active, and texts are awesome. They use PostScript, as you can tell. The first text that you get is a perfect mirror of the first email. It's warm, it's brand aligned, and it's asking you to save your contact card. It's highlighting the free shipping offer above $90, but again, it's just a stated benefit rather than a unique code, and the link takes you back to general collections. When it comes to the buy now moment, Caraway is very disciplined. Day 0, they send out 2 clear cart reminders, one in the morning and then one follow up about 27 minutes later, linking you directly back into the items. So they give you 2 shots to purchase that immediately. But what's interesting is what happens after that. Once those first 24 hours pass, the SMS channel stops becoming a recovery tool and it starts becoming a brand tool. From day 1 onwards, the messages shift from generic product promos, from what it is, recovery, to generic promos and Sunday prep tips and more educational kind of fun content. So they're not kind of badgering you about your cart every single day, which is kind of a bit of a sidestep from what most brands are doing today. They've made a conscious decision to use SMS as a supporting character and channel that focuses on long-term brand presence instead of a uh, sales-only tool. It's pretty conservative comparatively, but it is reflective of their premium value-first approach that respects the user space. So we've seen the front door, we've seen the first handshake. But what happens when the customer actually rolls up their sleeves and starts building a cart? This is the most critical moment in the life cycle when browsing turns into buying. So we tracked Caraway's timeline to see how they handle that transition from initial browse to purchase. And we found a classic kind of traffic jam situation. Now we want to be clear. Caraway is a powerhouse. You don't reach 60 million in half a year by accident. Their emails are stunning. It is the way that they run SMS, super disciplined, but they clearly and they clearly have a team internally or otherwise that cares about the details. But even in world-class systems like these, we can find areas for incremental leverage and improvement. When we actually mapped out their 4-day timeline, this is what we saw. We saw that automated systems are not perfectly synced up. Now, there's a lot. Don't worry about it. We'll send this to you. Above, you'll see what's happening on the cart abandonment level. Below, you'll see what's happening on a nurture level. And I believe that this isn't necessarily a flow per se. It is likely campaigns. But when you look at day 0, about an hour after adding an item to cart, the user gets a reminder. But literally in that same window, a separate education email kicks in with a cook clean, eat safe type of an email. On their own, these are amazing emails, world class. But together, you're giving the buyer 2 different jobs. One system is trying to close a sale. The other one is trying to pull them back into research mode. It gets even noisier as we go. So on day 1, day 2, while the email flow is doing the heavy lifting to recover the cart, the SMS channel is sending out generic product promotions. In one case, the SMS actually says cookware, but the link takes you to bakeware. Little simple QC errors in that case. The biggest overlap actually happens on January 10th, which would be the 3rd day. The user gets a beautiful education email at 4 p.m. only to get a your cart is waiting reminder 5 hours later. For a $400+ product, that overlap can be the very reason that buyers hesitate and move away. So the takeaway here is simple. If a customer has their carts active, they shouldn't be getting a whole bunch of generic nurture emails. Kind of want to pick one goal. Closing that sale is probably going to be priority. So commit the whole channel to it and go all out. That would be my recommendation and how I would do this a little bit differently. Okay, now to recap, we left the cart alone for a few days to monitor the flow. As we've seen, that period was defined by heavy overlaps between cart reminders, product education emails. But we then wanted to test what happens at the very end of the funnel, the checkout page. And spoiler alert, SMS was the final closer. So we found that Caraway is very specific about when they push for the sale. Simply landing on the checkout page or even entering your email doesn't trigger a recovery sequence. The system waits for a much higher signal of intent. It's only when you click continue to shipping that the silence breaks. Typically, this is the case for most brands, but that one extra step is the signal that you're not just window shopping anymore. They're actually ready to buy. And they have 2 separate flows, one for cart and one for the checkout shipping page. And the moment they cross that threshold, they bypass the inbox and go straight to SMS. This recovery text hits in under 30 minutes. Under 30 minutes. Remember that the first cart recovery email actually goes out in an hour. So this is way more critical, and they understand the nuance behind this. Very direct messaging. Click promptly. The link does not go back to the cart. It drops you right back to the shipping step. So friction is completely gone. This tells us that they save their most urgent mobile first recovery for the leads that they've qualified as high intent. And then all of this is automated. We can all do this. So, and this matters a lot for a fast growing brand. When you're spending heavily on acquisition, every SMS that you send carries a fatigue cost, which is often unseen. If we are batch blasting everyone who just touches your checkout page, you're kind of training your customers to ignore you. So the gate at shipping matters a lot. We're ensuring that the highest converting channel, SMS, is only used when the probability of a sale is at its peak. And we're leading with SMS in this scenario. So we're protecting brand equity, and we're ensuring that the revenue that we do recover is done with maximum efficiency and minimum noise and fatigue. Okay, now let's look at the broader campaign engine. We analyzed Caraway sends across December and January, and the strategy is super clear. They are masters of acquisition-focused volume. The messaging is very disciplined. You see a heavy emphasis on your flagship bundles, always anchored on high-value savings. For instance, leading with a bold, save $230 in a best-selling set that creates immediate logical reason to buy right now rather than later. They back this up with strong seasonal urgency, like final call, countdown headers, and all that moves the needles, especially during holiday seasons, by this time for holiday delivery, etc. What this tells us is that their campaigns are designed to be efficient conversion machines, and they maintain total visual consistency, whether they're selling a 12-piece cookware or food storage set. And this applies across both flows and campaigns. I love how it's all synced up very well. The challenge for any brand in this position is the kind of non-replenishable reality there. You can't just sell the same pan to the same person every single month. So right now, these campaigns are doing a great job in acquiring the customer, especially because these are emails sent to us, and we haven't bought a single product just yet. But the next frontier is using lifecycle to move beyond the one-off bundle and into category progression, showing the customer how the rest of their kitchen should fit into their lives. And so campaigns are doing a lot of the heavy lifting for revenue at this point in time, it seems. The role of lifecycle is to support that effort by increasing the basket size and clarity earlier and sooner in their journey, and reducing the need and reliance on promotional urgency down the road. So to recap, we left the cart alone for a couple of days, monitored the flow, and as we've seen, that period was defined with a heavy overlap between cart reminders and product education emails. But then we and then we looked at the checkout stage, and then we finally looked at the campaigns and comparatives between that. And we've identified that the long tail kind of opportunity is really in expanding kind of category progression. So to wrap things up, big picture for revenue sustainability here. Caraway is frankly an absolute powerhouse at acquisition. Their campaigns are disciplined, visually stunning. They use clear value props like that save $230 anchor. It's clearly used to bring people through the door. But when you sell a product that's built to last a lifetime, you cannot just rely on replenishment. Your growth has to come from efficiency and orchestration of new kind of category expansions. When we think of think about the revenue impact, when someone lands on your site, you've already paid for the click. So Lifecycle's job is to ensure that the user doesn't just buy the cheapest item, but feel the confidence to invest in the $445 set. And every kind of messaging, traffic jam, or silent checkout we found is really just a leak where that paid acquisition cost is being wasted. Number 3, by timing your SMS to that continue to shipping click, you're not just sending a text, you're protecting the conversion rate at the exact second where it's most vulnerable, where you are minimizing the cost of fatigue as well. The goal really isn't just more emails. It's relevance. It's making sure that messaging supports the specific stage that the buyer is in. And there you have it. So that is the kind of wrap up and overall takeaways for Caraway. Nico, take us away. Let's dive into CRO whenever you're ready.
Let's do it. That was amazing. There's a reason why anyone ever mentions email to me, I send them to you because yeah, it's clear from the last 15 minutes why we do that. But sweet, yeah, I'm excited to jump into the CRO side of things here. Let me share my screen. I think you're still sharing, Job. Okay, cool.
There you go.
We I messed this up about 4 times in the practice, so let's see if we can do this in one shot here.
All right. While you do that, Nico, I see that we've got a question in the Q&A. I'm just going to quickly answer that. Are companies investing into push notifications? I did personal views, and it seems pretty new for consumers to use them. Great question, Martinez. We are actually building push notifications into the overall system. It is not going to be a major part of your lifecycle program by and large. For most businesses, it's not going to be a huge part, but it is an incremental part of the system. It does bring in typically anywhere between like 1 to 3% incremental on the kind of overall revenue lift, which is nice, but it's not game changing, but it's really a nice thing to have. We often think of that as a mirror image to what happens on SMS. It is a fairly flexible channel once you have permissions for push notifications. The only limitation is how difficult it is to acquire that permission in the first place. Another aspect of it that we have kind of looked into is the halo impact of having an additional touch point. And that halo impact on emails and SMS, for some who have seen a push notification and then they receive an SMS, they're more likely to be to respond to that SMS or that email after a push notification. So there is a kind of a halo impact. On an estimate, on a conservative note, you're looking at like a 5% uplift in clicks and opens across the board, which is really just a nice to have. But if you're short on resources, I really wouldn't worry too much about that piece of the puzzle for now. Okay, Nico, all yours.
Cool.
Go for it.
All right, let's do it. So like I said, guys, I'm fighting for my life over here with some sort of sickness. So if my voice shuts off, I'm going to take a sip of water and then we'll keep going. But yeah, so I guess just quick intro on me. I know we already did introductions, but I've been funnel hacking and tearing down the fastest growing brands for many years. It's like my one of my biggest hobbies to do at night is just to see what the big boys are doing. And now I'm fortunate enough to work behind the scenes for a lot of these bigger players. So seeing hundreds of millions of dollars from both sides. So we're going to jump into Caraway first, kind of following what Josh just did on the email side, but solely on the website and the post-click optimization side of things. One thing I'd like to mention kind of before we fully get into it is that I'm looking at this through the perspective of an outsider. And we can look at this as from like a best practice point of view, and I can give all of my thoughts based on all of what I've seen. But there's certainly a lot that I can't see from this side. And it is important to know that every brand is different, and the strategy for every brand should be different. We have many brands that do hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue that don't follow best practices. So I'll go through this through the lens of here's what I believe they should be doing or what they're doing well. But I very well could be wrong in some of this. So if anyone from Caraway or Glossier is here and I missed the mark or you guys have some data, I'd love to hear it. All right, cool. So when I'm looking at a brand, I'm always looking at it through a few different levers, a few different lenses. Congruency being a big one on the landing page and the ad side of things, right? So figuring out where traffic comes from It's super important because I can optimize traffic from TikTok, I can optimize traffic from email, I can optimize traffic for whatever the traffic source is, but being cognizant of where it came from and what that person was expecting to see, and then serving them the right experience is super, super important. So thinking about it through the lens of what we call congruency, and for like a quick definition is just how well does the expectation, how well is the expectation met of the customer from the previous touch point. So if someone clicked on an ad for a green hat, are we going to show them a green hat on the next page, or are we going to take them to something that doesn't match, right? So how well does the ad or the thing they saw before this actually connect to what they're seeing on the post click? So Caraway does a great job of this. Bottom of funnel ads typically will be a little bit different than top of funnel ads. So different approaches for different types of ads. Like I said, TikTok, Google, email, all different consumer psychology starting points where we should probably build a different experience for. So this is a great bottom of funnel ad from Caraway. A lot of kind of like cute, more romantic copy that probably doesn't move the needle too much from an ad perspective is start your new year clean. But what we do see is like, this is very easy to understand. They're not selling an overly complex product. I could see, okay, this is great. It's utensils without plastics. So like naturally what you would expect the consumer to want to see is more on these utensils, right? They're not clicking on this because they want to start their new year. They're not clicking on this for whatever. They're clicking on it solely because they want to see more about this, right? We look at what Caraway does here. It's a very congruent experience, literally the same photo from the ad to the landing page. It drops the customer in the spot where they know they belong, right? The person who saw this is like, okay, I'm in the right spot. I'm not launched on the homepage where I have to now go try to find those utensils, which is a common mistake we see with many brands. It goes right to the product page where now they can continue their education, continue to learn about the specific thing they were looking for when they saw the ad. So this is a great bottom of funnel example. And now if we look at a more top of funnel ad, they're in a very fortunate place where 90% of the US knows maybe 95 knows what microplastics are and knows they don't want them. So there's not a ton of education needed here where we need to push this to a landing page with a bunch of education on why microplastics are bad. I think it's obvious as why like you don't want that stuff in their food, in your food. But they do a good job here of helping kind of balance the post-click experience from this sort of ad. So microplastics are so 2025. Like as a consumer, I see this and I go, oh, wow, this cutting board must not have microplastics. So let me go look at this product, right? Takes me in here. I can then see the same cutting board. Again, they're doing great with literally the same photo. But again, this is a more bottom of funnel, middle of funnel ad. And then from there, if you scroll down just one viewport, you can see they have more information on what makes it no microplastics, what makes it healthy, right? So continuing that storytelling from the ad is super important for the folks that may be on the fence or maybe not fully believing them or understanding them. And they have it still near the top. So we're hitting on the folks who are looking just to buy it, like I'm sold just from this headline, or the folks who are like, let me see how legit these people are. We still have information for them. So this is another great experience of a fairly congruent, or what I would say congruent ad to landing page kind of funnel here. Now moving on to a more top of funnel ad. So new year, new kitchen, okay, implies that it's 2026 now. You're going to want to buy all new stuff for your kitchen. Might as well do it with Caraway. Like I would imagine that's the idea here, top of funnel. There's no one's going to be looking at this ad and being like, oh, like I want this specific product. They might see this like red, whatever that is, pot. I don't know. They might see that and be like, okay, I want to go find that, and that's fine. But overall, they have the pot, they have the pan, they have the containers, they have the storage set, they have a lot of different products in here. Pushing this to a product page for one of these products, yet maybe somebody was more interested in the pot versus the pans or the storage is not a great idea. So a top of funnel experience for a top of funnel ad might be best sent to a collection page. And in this case, that's exactly what they do. One other thing I want to call out here that they do great, this is kind of like a golden nugget tip that we do in pretty much everything we're building, is we peek the next section. So consumers naturally will see the tip of something, a corner of something else, and want to scroll, right? And encourages them to want to see, what is this, right? Selling fast, top rated, what are these products down here? If this best sellers in this photo took up the entire viewport, we might lose a lot more people than if we were to peek the next section, which encourages scrolling. And when we split test peek versus not peek, you could see 40-50% increase in scroll depth just from having the next section showing in that viewport, which makes people want to scroll to the next section. So this is a great use of peeking, a great destination here. And another cool thing to call out is that they actually have the cookware set in the first placement on this collection page. Sorry, my voice is shutting off. Okay, So yeah, they have the first placement. This is the most clicked on element on any collection page, is always going to be this first card. And this is the one that's right here in this ad. Another great example of congruency. All right, cool. Moving on from congruency to the problem. So Caraway has a very clear problem that they're solving, right? Non-toxic, microplastics, this whole sort of idea of clean cookware, which I think like there's obviously macro trends in the market that talk to this pain, this frustration, all of that, right? It's now just a matter of how well do they show this and how well do they put it in front of their consumers. So you see, I have some screenshots here, and I'll go through them in a moment. Sorry, I don't know what's going on. So they do a great job of driving that problem home. Some brands will just talk about the problem a ton in the ads. They have a UGC ad, or they have a Google ad, or they have an email that's like, oh, here's the problem. And then you get to the post-click experience, and it's like, oh, here, buy this pan. But they don't reiterate the problem that was shown in the ad. They don't reiterate the thing that was shown in the email, and they just focus all their attention on selling. It's not how it works. People spend 10 minutes with your website, but 10 seconds with your ad. So they spend 10 seconds, they get hooked, they come here, and this is where they want to learn, right? So it's important to really drive that problem home, but also the solution and why they're the best fit. Caraway does an amazing example of this. I would say maybe one of the best in our marketplace for driving that problem home. It's echoed everywhere, and we'll continue to see that as we go through. But right here on their PDP, right below the buy button, like if I was to scroll up on this device here on the left, the buy button is right here. And then right below, they have this information that says, hey, all of our stuff is third-party tested for PFAs, PTFEs, PFOAs, all these things that like sound bad and like, okay, cool, I'm glad they're doing that. But from a consumer perspective, what's a PFA, what's a PTFO, whatever, right? So what they do is they make it and they show, hey, we're testing for this thing that you can just use context clues to figure out is a bad thing. And then you use the tooltip to see, okay, wow, it's actually something that causes cancer. It's chemical and reproductive issues and immune system suppression. Like, I don't want this. I didn't even know this problem existed. I'm glad I now know that there's healthy cookware, right? Scrolling down a little bit more, they're just echoing that same point, driving it home. Engineered for clean PFA-free ceramic coating. It's another fantastic visual. It's like, okay, this is what my pan looks like at home right now. This is what the ceramic one without cancer-causing chemicals looks like. You scroll down a little bit more, and they're just rubbing it in your face even more, right? Designed with peace of mind, designed for peace of mind, no PFAs, nothing, easy cleanup, only the essentials. Talking about some of those other unique selling propositions, but really driving the problem home and why their product solves that problem. Then lastly, we have a little bit of objection handling, which we'll get to later, but more so still just driving that point home. Here's the normal PFA toxic non-stick pan versus our ceramic one. And what you can see here is the non-toxic coating we don't have, but what we do see is that they say, okay, my objection might be like, I don't want cancer, that's for sure, but I also don't want my food to stick. So like now I have to make the decision, do I want cancer or non-stick? And they're basically showing us here at this chart that you can have the healthy version that also has non-stick, which is great. Okay, moving on to ease of navigation. This is something that's very important when I'm auditing. Excuse me, auditing a full site, right? So ease of navigation, how easy is it for someone to get around the site and get to checkout? Where is their friction? Where is their unnecessary steps in the funnel? Now going through their site through this lens, it's very clear that one, they're echoing that same problem everywhere. Here's the homepage, non-toxic, New Year's start here. Again, non-toxic, non-toxic, non-toxic. They have the shop the cookware set, which I believe is their hero SKU. But for the folks who aren't interested in that, they have the ability to shop all. So if I know, okay, I just don't want toxic cookware, let me go see what's in my kitchen that I can replace with the non-toxic version. I go to shop all, and then I go to this collection. And what the cool thing to have here at the top, which we've tested before and usually does do really well for some brands as a caveat, is these offshoot links to different collections, right? So if I say, okay, my bakeware, I bake a lot, I make a lot of cakes, I want the non-toxic version of that, I can click on the bakeware and then go to the bakeware collection where I can then see a lot more on the non-toxic bakeware, cookware, food storage, etc. So it makes it easy to navigate throughout the site because you don't have to search for something. It's not like a treasure hunt where like some other brands, it is very difficult to find what you're looking for. And then people who run the brands are like, why is no one finding this obscure product that's like 15 pages deep into my website? It's like, this is why, right? This is a great way for people to get people where you want them. So they do a great job there. One other thing they do really well that we've tested recently for a few of our brands is on these collection pages, we see like a big problem with what we call pogo sticking. Someone's on a collection page, they go into a PDP, they jump back to the collection page, they go into another PDP, and they're going back and forth, pogo sticking back and forth. And that kills conversions, right? Every time the page loads, they could get distracted. Every time they go back and forth, there's a little bit more confusion that creates. We don't want a lot of that back and forth. We want someone to come in here and be like, okay, I need a new storage set that's not going to give me cancer. I want to jump in here, right? What they do is they make it so that there's a little blurb. You could see all the colors, you could see the price, you could see the reviews, all from the product card, which helps you make the decision, which PDP do I want to go into? Which one do I want to go look into, right? So this one's great. It's like I could see, okay, 13-piece ceramic storage set designed to reduce microplastics. Perfect. This is the product card I want to go look into. I didn't have to click in to find this out and then come back, right? It's a great way to help navigation. So ease of navigation, again, another great call by Caraway. Moving into kind of usability and messaging. So this is another one that we see often where people will have like a utensil set and then they'll put the mini set as its own product page. They'll have the utensil set as its own, and then they'll have the combo pack as its own PDP, which again encourages the back and forth back to the collection page into the PDP and so on. What they do here, which is a great example, is they have similar products set up as variants, right? So I could see, okay, do I want the mini one? And what is that? Okay, it's a 4-piece. It's new. It's a great stocking stuffer because it's cheap. Perfect. Then you could click on the next one, which is the bestseller. These little bestseller and most loved tags are actually very effective. I know they seem stupid, but consumers love them. They love a little bit of help in terms of which one should I care about. So they have the bestseller tag on this one, which makes the most sense. They call exactly what it is out. It's the most loved product. It's 5-piece, and so on. Then from there, they have the last one, which is like the big boy set. It's more expensive. They talk about how there's no plastic, probably because they were running out of tags to put here. They talk about how it's new, but it does do a good job of keeping someone in this buying decision for utensils. It's like, okay, which one do I want? They can sell themselves similarly to how Apple does it. They can move yourself up, right? You've ever looked for like an iPhone and they're like, okay, like starts at $100 or $1,000, I should say. And then it's like, oh, you want a little bit more storage? Oh, you want a little bit better of a screen, a better camera, and you can work your way up to the big one, right? Same sort of deal here. People start with the mini utensil set because they see the $100 price tag and they're like, I should probably get the tongs, right? And they're like, what? Might as well get the mini ones. And then they work themselves back up here because it's the best value, right? And it's the biggest savings. So it's really effective and something that they do really well with a lot of their products. Cool. All right, moving on to social proof and believability. So the biggest question that we see pretty much everywhere for every brand is, are your claims legit, right? So like mostly for consumer, like CPG brands, health and wellness brands, dog products, things like that, that's a big one. But even for this, it's like, okay, do I believe that you really took the cancer out of this product? Like, is this real? So social proof and believability is a big part of the funnel because you can have the best product in the world, but sometimes if it's too good to be true, people will have the bullshit meter in their head that's saying, hey, this is too good to be true, right? So this is a huge thing that they do really well as well. You can see 70,000 aggregated reviews. That's insane, right? Most brands can't say they have 70,000 reviews, but 70,000 is great. Selling fast, great. See it in action. They have videos, so it's probably similar videos to what you see on a Facebook ad. Take your best performing ads and just throw them on the PDP. We've seen work really well. This is one of those best practices that we do on almost all of our PDPs. I haven't seen it really hurt conversion, but having videos here and some more sales content, it's just for the people who are spending 10, 15 minutes on this page trying to figure out if they really want it. They'll come in here and watch these, go watch a professional, non-toxic guy, someone, influencer, talk about the product, right? See it in action, great. And then the last one that they have that, again, we've seen do insane for a lot of our brands is the third-party tested for safety. So they have lab results through this like third-party plugin, and you don't even need to go that far of getting a third-party plugin to do this. You could just say, hey, this is what we test for in our manufacturing, and showing that to the public often can kind of help them believe, right? Like we're trying to increase believability that this is actually tested for no cancer or no non-toxic, whatever it is that they're trying to push. So that's a fantastic job from them on where the buying decision happens, right? Social proof in the footer is not helpful, right? People are making their decision to buy right around this add to cart button, which is why it's important that this is right below the add to cart button. This is literally touching the add to cart button. This is before they can even scroll down. So all of this social proof and why you should care and why you should believe I doubt that people are going through here and being like, oh, wow, is this legit? Is this not legit? They're probably looking at other things like price. What can I use it for? Other sorts of things, because they do such a good job at social proof and believability. One other thing I want to call out that they do that a lot of big brands like unfortunately don't do is they leave their 1-star reviews on. So authentic social proof is far more important than just social proof, right? We've worked with some brands in the past that are like, hey, we don't want to show our 1-star reviews because we don't want it to hurt conversion. But when we look at our heat maps, this is for another one of our clients. You can see here on the right, our heat maps always point the same direction. But consumers come in to reviews. They don't care about your 5 stars because the 5 stars are just in their mind fake. They want to see what are people saying that's bad, right? What is the bad side of this product? So they click on the 1 stars, they go and read those, and then they make their decision off of the 1 stars. So leaving those 1 stars on, having like something say like, oh, my box came and it was ripped up, shipping was a little bit late. Those sorts of things don't hurt you from a conversion rate perspective. Or like, oh, like I tried to make an egg for 4 hours and it ended up sticking. Like these like weird horror stories that end up in your 1-star reviews are actually good for conversion because it lets people be like, oh, okay, cool. There's nothing here really to be concerned about, and it actually helps conversion. So this is one thing that like anyone listening here could do right now. If your website doesn't have 1-star reviews on because you think you're helping, you're hurting yourself, and you should 100% turn them back on. Barring that you have a good product and the 1 stars are not actually bad. Okay, cool. Objection handling. So Josh hit on this a little bit as well, but objection handling is one of the biggest levers in CRO. How quickly, how effectively can we get a customer that's about to say no to say yes and reduce that hesitation? Because every little bit of like questioning, every little bit of anything, cognitive dissonance of any kind can create a user to just leave and be like, I'll do this later. And that's the last thing we want. So Caraway does a great job of this. Again, right near their buy box, they have this shop risk-free with a 30-day money-back guarantee. If you don't have one of these, you should have a 30-day money-back guarantee. Most people don't call you on it, and it increases the conversion rate a lot, right? So for them, they say, okay, free returns within 30 days. They have this pop-up that says all the information. Most people, when they see free trial, it tends to work a little bit better than a money back guarantee, or like you can return it for 30 days because then people think, oh, I have to print a label, I have to get a box, all those sorts of things. So positioning it as a trial, making sure that it's free shipping and free returns is usually the best way to do this. I would imagine there's probably something hiding in their see full policy, which is why they link here. But I think this is a great way to increase conversion. If your brand can support the free returns, you absolutely should. Another thing they do right here is a quick overview of the product. All of these, again, non-toxic materials. These things they're just objection handling right near the buy button. So you can click on these. They have a little pop-up that shows, oh yeah, it's definitely non-toxic. I promise. It was third-party tested and whatever. But they have all of this great stuff right near the buy button, so you can handle more objections, because these are probably the questions that people have the most when they go to buy. The last thing that they do from a objection handling perspective, which is great, is they echo those same benefits and those same things in cart as well as in checkout. So right here, you can see free shipping, free returns, free 30-day trial. Free returns and 30-day trial is essentially the same thing, right? They just know that free trial is what's moving the needle, and free returns is people being scared they're gonna have to pay $6 for a new label and things like that, right? So they call out the free shipping, handling that objection. They also call out the things that people are most worried about, being like, hey, just don't worry about it. You're good. I promise if you don't like it, we'll give you your money back, knowing that most people are not going to do that, especially after someone cooks on it. They're not going to be like, hey, most people just in their head will write off the fact that they can't return it now that it's dirty. One thing they do on checkout, which is great, is they have this little social proof tag, which is like, I think it's like 100,000 happy customers, free shipping. What's not great here is that this is designed for desktop. Like I can't read this on a mobile device. If this was designed for mobile, which I would imagine where like 80% of their sales come through, this would probably perform far better. The idea of having social proof and having more objection handling here at checkout, where like this is literally it, this is where the person makes the decision, is a great idea. I've never seen this hurt conversion, but this is not legible to a human, right? So if I was at Caraway, this is one of the first things that we would do, is just try to make this a little bit more legible on mobile. But yeah, okay, that was a ton. That's most of what I had on Glossier, on Caraway. We'll pick up where we kind of left off on Glossier here, and go through the same sort of levers for that brand.
Hello guys, I'm Filippo, co-owner and head of Google Ads at Echelon, and today we're going to analyze Caraway's presence on Google Ads Spoiler, it's not going to be a great review in this case. By the way, we're going to talk about reviews a lot. And it's pretty common, honestly, to see maybe big brands or anyway brands that are relying mainly on other platforms, usually Meta, to leave money on the table or actually to waste a little bit on Google just because they can get away with that, basically. So let's see what are the top bullet points for today. In general, quick intro on search, in particular search landing pages. So here we have a collection page, which is pretty common on Google Ads, a pretty common mistake to use as a landing page. Then we have reviews, 2-star reviews appearing on shopping ads. So in general, reviews killing the trust, especially for customer acquisition. On Google Ads, there are new customers to acquire. Sometimes that's a myth that people have, like you cannot acquire a new customer on Google. That's not really true. But if someone is a new customer, potentially, they probably, they would see, they would search for reasons why not to buy from you, let's say, and if you show 2-star reviews, that's a great way to scare them off. So reviews and price mismatch. In this particular case, we're going to see price mismatch, that's the main one, but also color mismatch. In general, it's another point in which, you lose trust, you're not consistent with your advertising and what they find on the website. And in this particular case, they're actually making a big mistake showcasing a price of $865 when the actual price on the page is $670. So they're kind of damaging themselves there. So basically, the key insight, as I said, even 8-figure brands make basic mistakes that cost thousands, even tens of thousands, often monthly in wasted spend. And for sure, they lose possibility of acquiring new customers on Google. So let's see from the slides, and then especially for the shopping part, I'm gonna show you directly on Google. So let's try to pause the video. Not the easiest here. Let's try again. Last time. All right, made it. Okay, so here when it comes to search ads, we are focusing on the keyword ceramic cookware. Is a huge keyword with tens of thousands of searches a month in US, the main market here. And we can see the page, how it looks like when clicked. We're going to focus on the top of the page, right? The above the fold part, which obviously is the most important, especially for new customers with not much investment and trust in the brand. What can we see here? First of all, it's a generic collection page, talks about non-toxic, new year, whatever, like they're really pushing here marketing wise on the website about new year, new me, new resolutions, commit to better habits, blah, blah, blah. It's kind of a nice exercise of marketing, but they're missing the main point here, which is, I was searching for ceramic cookware. That again is not a, original keyword. It's probably the main one here, with tens of thousands of searches a month. I mean, one of, a very heavy keyword, not a long tail, original keyword. So there's nothing about ceramic, right? Nothing about ceramic, no reviews that are visible. Doesn't tell me anything except that, you're trying to do a good marketing for new year, new me, better habit, like kind of, almost scolding me for not having better habits before. Like, I mean, what do you want? So yeah, commit to better habits, blah, blah, blah. By the way, also readability, debatable, with that white on whitish, especially here in the subtitle. And then usual mistake, this can be said about every collection page. The usual mistake there is just throwing products at the customer, like shop all products, shop the cookware set. Again, is it ceramic or not? Like, what's going on there? And then as you can see, starting to throw different option to the customer, right? That's a classic collection page with at the top, especially here on desktop, a lot of different links and stuff like that. There's not a page that is impacting a new customer. Of course, you could say, hey, I'm Caraway, I'm famous. Yeah, but I'm a new customer. I'm searching for something unbranded. I don't really care. Maybe I never heard of you. No. So what actually works? A hero with USPs, social proof that he is missing is found below, right? But again, what's below the fold? Sometimes it just, for yourself, people are not really getting to that point, are bouncing before. Missing USP, so unique selling points, social proof is missing the relevancy with a keyword. Most importantly, from a technical standpoint, also because Google rewards you, in terms of quality score if your page is relevant to the search term. And also in general is missing a value proposition from the brand, no? I just know that they noticed it's New Year, it's January, so they speak to that, but that's not so cool, I would say. So potentially, what could happen here for someone just searching for, ceramic cookware, like in this case, a smaller competitor with better LPs, more relevant, more to the point, with less, with fewer choices, could definitely outperforming them, in general receive more visibility. Indeed, we've done, of course, many searches. It seems like their visibility on search is not really strong. Now, let's move to the hot part of the presentation. So about shopping. So as you can see here, we are looking for the brand. When we search for non-branded, sometimes it's even difficult to find them, and that could be because of the quality a little bit of their feed, not technically the product feed. The biggest thing that can be noticed, of course, is that some of their listings have 2-star reviews, literally 2-star reviews. So you can see, how this could be damaging the company, of course. And makes them look like a little bit cheating, if you wish, not honest, dishonest, because if you go then to the page, we're gonna navigate a little bit together, we're gonna see that on the website they claim over 70,000 incredible reviews, right? But yeah, a prospective user might think that good reviews are faked, but bad reviews probably not faked. No one bothered to fake them, so they must be true. No, that could be my stream of thoughts. So yeah, that's pretty bad. And what's important here, that reviews on shopping are not just matching what's on the website. It's not just that easy, which poses a challenge for brands, even big brands like this one, that maybe don't pay attention to this, right? So from one side it poses a threat, and you need to put focus on that. On the other side, it gives you an opportunity, because if you realize that actually reviews use MPN, item group IDs, so attributes within the feeds, right, and within the product feed that are, let's say, adjustable, you can play a little bit with how your reviews on Google are showing. You can adjust them for the best. Of course, considering, let's even imagine that, all right, they probably fucked up, and some variants, actually a few ones, here we see just one, but a few variants got, a few products, a few variants got 2-star reviews. At least let's exclude them from Google Shopping. They have plenty, they have probably hundreds, if not thousands of variant overall, because each model could have different colors, different sizes, different bundle sizes. They have like the 6 pieces you can see here, they have the 12, etc., etc. So there are probably hundreds, if not thousands of variants. At least exclude the ones with 2 stars, right? They have many with instead a nice number of reviews and a high score. So that's a very, very important point. Then let's move to the next point. Let's see. There you go. Yeah, in terms of reviews, here you have, as I was telling you, they have many variants with these 2-star reviews. You see here, we have actually 1, 2, 3 of them. And here I was searching for ceramic cookware, right? So this is non-branded. I could be a great potential customer, and instead I'm not gonna become, because I see bad reviews everywhere. While, and that's the funny part, I see a reseller, the very last one here that we highlighted, having 9K plus reviews, 5 stars for the exact same Caraway bundle. So, really, really bad outcome here. Not looking great for their marketing team. Now let's move to the next topic, which is what happens if I actually click, so we can see it live later. What happens if I click on one of them? So I see here 865 as a price, and this one is still 16-piece deluxe cookware, just different color. This one is saying 670. How's possible? So what happens if I click here? I'll tell you what happens. So what happens is that the listing is telling me 865, by the way, black, when instead on the page I land on the default variant, which is cream when it comes to color, and the price, what's more important is that the price is 670. So they're having a huge mismatch here, very big problem. And not only they have a fake price on the listing, but what's worse is that even it's higher, right? So they're damaging themselves twice. First of all, having a higher price lower your ranking in listings, and then of course you lose trust, right? Because you're not consistent with your advertising. So this leads to higher bounce rate, wasted ad spend on confused users, lost views because again your rankings and visibilities are plummeting. You risk to have consistently products disapproved in Merchant Center, eventually account suspensions or shadow banning. In general, lost trust equals lost sales, lost trust to the customers and to Google. The fix, I mean, in general, do a little bit better product management, right? Product feed management. We always suggest and use a tool like Data Feed Watch, especially if you're on Shopify. That's by far the best tool to ensure variant URLs match feed data. So if you have a certain color, a certain price, that's reflected in the listing. And here we might have 2 seconds to talk about it. That could be a trick that is good to keep in mind. Anyway, we need to fix the hidden page code problem and provide correct pricing. We're going to see why Google is showing 865 from where on the website is 670 and the older price is 945. So where is this 865 coming from? We can see. And in general, along with much better product feed optimization, also frequent audits of your feed, at least weekly, are needed for mismatches, for any problem that might arise. Like in this case, many times people think like, oh, I should check my product feed if I get some alerts, some disapprovals or whatever, some warnings from Google. In this case, I bet they don't really get any because the reviews are fine. I mean, 2 stars, all right, Google is going to accept it. It's not going to tell you that anything is wrong. The price, in this case, the bots are seeing this 865 as legit, and so that's no problem. So it's not just about opening Merchant Center 1 second and say, okay, warnings are fine. So let's see a little bit on Google's page, right? So I wanted to show you why this price mismatch. So here, let me find, for example, this product, right? Open link in a new tab. You see 865, which becomes, let's see, voila, 670 and 945. Now, where this 865 comes from, we need to, become a little bit of, detective, check, inspect the page, and here we should load. We should filter a little bit. Let's see if it seems a bit slow. Let me try again. Taking the whole page. Yeah. So we should then search for 865. The price must come from somewhere, and especially must be somewhere if Google accepts it. And in this particular case, let's see if I can find it quickly. All right, there you go. So you can see 6 occurrence out of 12. We can see here in particular that we have price 865 in USD here. So that's how the bots accept the price, and this listing keep on being approved and showing again a price that doesn't match the page at all. By the way, suggestion for you also, if you want to do competitor research when it comes to pricing, if we head to the product section, right, this one sometimes called shopping, sometimes products, right? If you click there and we analyze, here we are, we analyze, I was searching specifically for Caraway cookware 865 just to find the product. So if we get to the, product on shopping, organic, okay, so above we still have ads most often, here we have organic results. If we click on organic results, so this, again, you see the reviews, not great. If we find the product that we want to check when it comes to the competition, you can also check your own product or your client's product if you're an agency. You find the product. In this particular case, we want it directly from them. If you click on the three dots there, you can actually see the price history. So we can also confirm that actually 600, you can see exactly what they've done, for example, for Black Friday. I know already. So I know as a fact that they dropped the price end of October, and then they kept it till, in promotion. They did a small, a lower promotion, then hard promotion since the 15th till the end of the year, and then actually not till a little bit more, and then at some point around the 5th of January they put 670 again, which is the highest pricing ever, right? So obviously we know as a fact that the discount there on the page is a fake discount that is always there, classic for e-commerce. So yeah, going back for Caraway, to make a recap here, bad pages when it comes to landing pages on search, not relevant for the specific keywords, even massive obvious keywords like ceramic cookware or ceramic pans. Not enough personalization about when it comes to the above the fold of the page, no relevancy, no social proof, no USP, no value proposition of the brand. And when it comes to shopping, a complete disaster. When it comes to reviews, many variants, as we saw even on the presentation, but also live on Google with two reviews. They use a good tool, Okendo, for review collection, but every tool is just a tool, needs to be used properly. And as we said, a lot of the review outcome depends on how the feed as well is optimized, because reviews are matched using attributes such as MPN, item ID, item group ID, GTIN. So for sure a bad job there, and also a terrible outcome when it comes to the matching between the listing and the actual landing page. Here the pricing is also wrong in the wrong direction, by the way. So looking more expensive on the listing than actually on the page. So yeah, Caraway, definitely you need to optimize your Google Ads for, hopefully you're not relying on that too much for your success, right? And yeah, we're gonna see. So that was it. Definitely not the best example here on Google. A lot of room for improvement, which could be, red flag for their marketing team, but especially the marketing team taking care of Google Ads, but positive on the flip side, a lot of room for improvement and possibility for them to increase the client acquisition also on Google Ads. All right, that's it.
All right, that was awesome. Holy, I learned a ton. Okay, you got some questions, Nico. I've got one here. How do you deal with sticky add to carts and multi-variants by Simon? I'm not sure what this means.
Yeah, I can take that. That's a great question. We typically will use the sticky add to cart to scroll back up to the buy box where they can then go and make that decision. We've split tested having the ability to just go straight to checkout from a sticky add to cart button. We haven't seen it really win. And that doesn't mean it doesn't work. And I'm sure it works for some brands. But by and large, we typically will not recommend like true add to cart buttons that like take you to checkout or take you to the next step. We do like buttons, however, that scroll you back to where the buying decision is made. Because like we said, we need to do some of that objection handling near the the buy button, things like that. So when there's variance, especially, we're just scrolling back up to the buy box. But if we can, honestly, that's my advice for any sticky add to cart button.
Got it. Perfect. Okay. And we've got one question for the prior session around the overlap of cart abandonment and nurture flow. Do you think that was an oversight from Caraway? I would have expected them to use filters or segments to avoid this. 100% an oversight. I think it's likely non-intentional. It might be intentional as well, and they might understand the trade-offs, and they might have data that we don't see. But as a kind of general rule of thumb, it's not the best idea. But if they've kind of weighed out their options and have seen that it doesn't really impact experience all that much, and it generates better results and returns, then so be it. Okay. Now, I've got news. Filippo unfortunately can't make it. There was a medical emergency. He sends his regards and he apologizes, but we will still be sending the findings for the ads audit. So stay tuned for that coming into your inboxes really soon. And we'll figure out a way for Filippo to kind of make it up to all of you as well. In the meantime, we'll dive right into Glossier and the findings around email and SMS. A really interesting kind of alternative to Caraway. Caraway is a non-replenishable product type of a business, and Glossier is pretty much the complete opposite. So we'll dive into that and we'll see how we would do things a little bit differently if we were in their shoes. So let's dive in. Okay, shifting gears. Now, to understand Glossier's strategy, we have to first ground ourselves in the nature of their business, which is quite a far cry from the high AOV considered purchase of Caraway. Glossier's products are replenishable. They're a replenishable powerhouse. They're not just selling a one-time product. They're selling, in an ideal world, a habit. So they're operating at quite a massive scale, revenue-wise, compared to most of us in the space. Their online store alone is estimated at about 100 million annual GMV, with nearly 40 mil of that coming in just the last, probably more than 40 mil coming in the last 6 months. And it's also kind of crucial to note that this only represents their digital storefront. It doesn't account for their brick and mortar store, their massive wholesale partnership with Sephora and more. In their heyday, they may have been a larger business as well. Regardless, Glossier is a replenishable powerhouse. They're selling products that are meant to be used every day. So there's a natural habit forming type of a behavior for customers. Last month alone, they captured 2.2 million visits, and with a primary goal being top of funnel velocity, and we'll kind of unpack what that means. But here's the catch: the volume is so high, their technical gaps become so much more expensive. When you're making 100 mil online, even small deliverability misses or tax, or the total absence of SMS at the front door becomes multi-million-dollar leaks. Huge. And today we're going to look at how they are hitting these numbers despite those gaps, and where those massive recovery plays are still hiding in the funnel. So when we look at Glossier's front-end experience, the focus is clearly on volume and velocity. The pop-up hits you pretty much instantly, especially on mobile, within like 5 seconds. Now, is that a good thing? It's kind of a double-edged sword. On one hand, super effective for netting as many leads as possible from their 2.2 million monthly visitors. On the other hand, it's missed opportunity to start a conversation. They use a 15% discount to kind of bridge the gap to that first trial, first purchase. But what's most notable is the total lack of qualification. No zero-party data collection at all. There are no questions about skin type or beauty routines or anything of that nature. So what? Unlike the guided routine and journey that we saw with Caraway, Glossier assumes that for a kind of $20 lipstick or a $30 product, you don't really need guidance. You just need a coupon, kind of nudge you to purchase a little bit quicker. They're betting on impulse bias. So they believe that every second spent answering a question is a second that you might lose interest in a $14 product. But the real cost, this low friction choice creates massive downstream revenue leaks that people don't often realize because they don't capture any data or any SMS numbers at the start, no phone numbers. Their follow-up is one-dimensional, very generic, and they're netting leads at a massive scale, but lifecycle is now a passive participant versus an active one. We're just waiting for the customers to decide to buy and then learn more about them. So what's the leverage? For a brand like Glossier, the next stage of growth is really about maximizing the massive audience that they already have, shifting from email only to profile building. That's the key idea. Moving their life cycle from a passive kind of strategy to an active revenue driver. For the rest of us, the goal should be to bridge that gap between trial and routine from the very first click. We've seen guided buying becoming kind of core growth drivers for high-performing beauty brands across the board. But the immediate kind of untapped gold mine for Glossier is their SMS channel. We recently ran a test for a medium-sized beauty brand that perfectly reinforces this opportunity by simply deploying an SMS-only pop-up targeted specifically at people who are already on the email list but have not given a phone number. We generated $26,000 in incremental revenue, unlocked in just 2 weeks. These are revenue that would not have been acquired. It's not reported in Klaviyo. These are actual incremental spend that's generated in just 2 weeks. And now imagine that at Glossier scale, with over 2 million a month in visits and 100 million in annual GMV. That's a behemoth of an email list. This low effort, high impact closer strategy is not just a technical tweak. It's kind of like an insurance policy on really churn. Right now, they're fighting for attention in the promotions tab, getting that 15% offer onto the lock screen with SMS, where their Gen Z audience, really what they're trying to kind of move towards, actually lives, is a multi-million dollar recovery play just waiting to happen. And lastly here, Glossy's brand equity is a magnet. It's amazing, but their life cycle is currently leaving their highest converting real estate, a lock screen, completely vacant. Very unusual. If a medium-sized brand can pull 26K in 2 weeks just from unlocking this one lever, at the scale of Glossier, it's staggering. So adopting the kind of digital makeup consultant, statistician approach, plus aggressively layering in SMS for the existing base, Glossier can really turn this passive broadcast engine into a proactive multi-channel closing machine, if you will. Okay, now moving on to the welcome flow. We see a classic case of a brand really just letting kind of aesthetics, arguably, override technical performance. Glossier's emails are, they're on brand, undeniable. They're clean, super minimal, very good use of a white space that kind of defines your identity. But when you kind of see the email again, it comes really telling about how they leverage their own channels. They're not using email to educate. They're using it to recruit you into a lifestyle. Beyond the product names like kind of boy brow and their tiny descriptions, the email is structurally silent with minimal text. They rely entirely on pretty much vibe. And so, so what here? The problem is that while vibe builds brand equity, and I would argue that it may not, it fails the kind of technical test by locking everything in static images, they're being ghosted by Gmail's primary tab. They're not letting in tabs that generate the most attention. The primary trust building initiative isn't a founder story or why their products are trusted by many. It's really just it's a promise of a digital aesthetician experience that prioritizes your skin's well-being. And they even include a physical incentive. There's a sticker, but it's not just a freebie there. It really is a kind of a badge, a community badge of sorts that turns a transaction, especially a digital one, an online one, into a tangible kind of ritual and lifestyle ownership of sorts. And for a brand that's making 100 mil plus annually, this kind of pretty plain and vanilla approach is no good. It's a vanishing act, because whatever strategies and ideas they inject into the emails, they're not landing in primary. Okay, once we've cleared the front door, moved past the welcome stage, we kind of repeated the same methodology that we applied with Caraway to see how Glossier handles their hottest and highest intent leads. We started browsing deeply, added items like the Dewy Look bundle into a cart, and then most crucially, we initiated checkout and abandoned checkout at the final shipping step. And we want to see if a $100 million brand could close us. To pressure test Glossier's recovery, we went beyond a casual browse. We cleared everything. We took the only path that they give to provide a phone number. We created a full account and explicitly given them SMS marketing consent. Mind you, explicitly. We then added products to cart, let them sit there for a couple of days, and eventually returned the progress all the way to the final checkout stage before abandoning once more to see if the brand would recognize this repeated high intent behavior and use its highest leverage channel, SMS, to close us. What we found was shocking. The journey was fast, sure, but only at the beginning, but incredibly blunt. Within 30 to 40 minutes of that first add to cart, the reminders start, and then less than an hour later, they hit you with another email with the exact same 15% discount they saw in the welcome email. They're banking entirely on just that impulse window, essentially, trying to strike while the iron is hot, while dopamine is high, and flooding your inbox within the first 120 minutes. But here's a real gap, the SMS blackout, if you will. Despite having every green light to text us, we received 0 SMS activity for the duration of the audit. For a Gen Z brand, being silent on the phone while shouting in a crowded promotions tab is a big no. It's operational failure. This is a huge, huge miss. And by not using SMS as a closer, especially after we've returned to the site days later, very high intent signal, they're ignoring the most effective real estate that they have, which is lock screens. And they're working twice as hard in the inbox while treating their a high intent checkout abandoner prospect exactly like casual kind of window shopper. To fix this, we immediately test 3 things. First, we would swap that redundant second email for a personalized SMS. SMS has a significantly higher click-through rate for high intent recoverables compared to a second email sent in the same hour. So that's number one. And then instead of showing the lone item in the cart, we would show the full look. And that's ultimately with the mindset of increasing basket size, making that 15% off feel a lot like a better deal and helps offset shipping friction as well. Later in the 24-hour reminder, we will test a shipping on us nudge. Shipping costs are typically the number one reason why abandonment happens in beauty, because the cost of products is so low. Typically, basket sizes are small, so shipping is typically a friction point. Solving that specific friction is often more effective than a generic discount, even if the actual amount is lower than the actual discount. So there you have it. Those are the three things. And frankly, Glossier is currently kind of shouting in the inbox to get attention. But when we introduce SMS and better intent-based triggers like shipping threshold triggers, they could really move from shouting to converting to really having a relationship. And increasing their recovery rate will be game-changing for their acquisition engine as well, while at the same time decreasing their send volume and making the entire engine a lot more efficient. Okay, finally, we have to talk about the engine that actually fuels Glossier's massive scale, their membership engine. They don't just want you to buy a cleanser or kind of a single product. They want you to become a member and recruit you into a lifestyle. Now, our process highlighted, our audit process highlighted a key distinction. Glossier separates the transactional 15% off welcome from community induction. After you sign up, they send a dedicated membership confirmation. This is not just a kind of a digital badge. They anchor it with a physical membership keychain to ritualize your space in the community. It's kind of like a ritual. They offer high value, or at least perceived high value perks like early access to product launches, invitations to exclusive in real life events, to keep you within the brand's kind of orbit and gravity. They even have a proactive retention strategy around this. We found their goodbye email, which asks inactive users to choose their status to stay or go, while subtly reminding them of member benefits, specifically like community events and insider tips. They're also incredibly active in the real world, like actual in IRL. We see them hosting high energy community events like the Glossier U pop-up or influencer parties. All of this are designed to turn customers into brand evangelists. But the massive opportunity lies in how can these promotions of these events and these membership engagement initiatives be effective when every single communication piece is buried in a promotions tab. Because of the technical kind of aesthetics tax that we discussed earlier, where we're prioritizing aesthetics and really missing out on technicals, these community invites are fighting a losing battle for attention in massive crowded inbox. And as our timeline shows, even after officially becoming members and giving them their phone numbers, they stay completely silent on SMS. For a brand that relies on hype and velocity, failing to use the phone numbers that they have is a huge, huge miss. They've built a cult, they've built the following, but they're really just missing that closer, that digital closer that ensures that the community shows up and the community converts. So yeah, ultimately Glossier's greatest asset is their community right now. But as our audit has proved, brand equity alone cannot fix a broken technical conversion flow. By fixing this kind of SMS blackout and deliverability issues, I do think that they can truly bridge the gap between their iconic in real life experiences with a high performance multi-channel profit machine online. All right, really quickly moving on to active campaigns here that they have. We see the hype and habit engine in full effect. Glossier doesn't just they don't just sell products, they're selling an identity here. The strategy really just relies on kind of brand aura or gravity, using limited edition colors, first drop messaging, creating like a now or never energy that forces frequent site visits. They also use sophisticated tiered promotional strategy. Unlike the steady discounts that you're seeing with other brands, Glossier leans into high value gift of purchase offers, like the envelope pouch for orders over $65. This effectively drives up AOV while keeping the brand feeling premium rather than discount led after the first purchase, which is great. To protect the deliverability, they're deploying this clever kind of stay or say goodbye, sunset flow. It looks like a breakup email, very good to kind of emulate, but ultimately it's really just a re-engagement play that highlights kind of insider tips and community events as a reason to stay and to stick around. So this shows that they are intentional about this and they're protective of their center reputation and deliverability, which is a good thing. Likely because they know that they're image heavy. What essentially looks like postcards are landing in promotions, and it's really fighting an uphill battle in the first place. But yeah, the real leak here across all campaigns I've seen, unfortunately, lies in personalization. And so that's the one final thing that kind of ties it all together. When we start out the journey with more data, we end the journey with better data to communicate with and to engage with. Because we haven't started in that way, our campaigns are going to look this way. And that's the biggest personalization gap we see. So to wrap up, we have to look at the really long-term sustainability of this model as a kind of Glossier as a brand. They're making millions because they're a cultural icon. They're a D2C unicorn that people love with an elite community play. But from a lifecycle perspective, they're really currently paying an efficiency tax on every dollar of revenue that they are generating. The first major leak is deliverability, because they rely on these beautiful but heavily just image heavy only emails. They're consistently buried in the promos tab. If 70% of your list never checks that tab, you're effectively paying to maintain a list where only 30% can see you. And as ad costs rise, which they will, they're never going to be able to keep brute forcing revenue through new traffic. They have to fix deliverability to reach the people that they've already owned and met. The second leak here is personalization. In beauty, relevance is retention. I'll repeat that. In beauty, relevance is retention. Right now, Glossier is training their users to ignore them by sending the kind of the dewy look email to everyone, including customers that have oily skin who actually want a matte finish on their face. They're prioritizing this generic vibe over individual needs and individual customer segments and personas. Third, they're missing that SMS retention piece. And since their core products like the Boy Brow and Balm.com are replenishables, everything is replenishable, frankly. Their highest ROI lever is the 60-day restock reminder. By staying off the lock screen, they're really just letting competitors move in, steal that replenishment state and that replenishment sale because they have to go somewhere. Glossier's campaigns are world-class at brand maintenance, brand equity, but middle of the pack when it comes to revenue optimization. And to kind of get to where I feel they have the potential to be at, they really have to move from broadcast marketing to individual replenishment logic and personalization. Recognizing the difference between a day one newbie, a day, year three loyal supporter, super member, and understanding each and every one of them. Lastly, one of the most immediate ways we can improve revenue efficiency right now is by fixing the intent triggers. Right now, the system is basically just a stopwatch. It sees you add an item, waits 30 minutes, fires an email. The problem with this approach is that it treats all intent as equal. In an audit, we saw that even after we went all the way to the final shipping page, left, came back, the highest signal of intent possible, the brand didn't respond with any specific checkout nudge. They threw us back to that generic cart reminder loop. So not good. And there you go. That's it from me. I hope that was insightful. At least you picked up a thing or two. Over to Nico. We'll talk about CRO and what Nico would do differently on landing pages.
That was insane to me. Hopefully someone from Glossier is watching this just for their bottom line. It's wild to me that they're not doing any of that. But yeah, I do think there is a couple of questions. I don't know if you want to hit those now, Josh, while I get this set up, or if you want to do them at the end.
Yeah, let's do that right now. Okay, one more question for Joshua and Caraway from Martinez. With email marketing, do they have any other methods of gathering emails or only pop-up and footer? I believe those are the main entry points. I believe that those are really the main and entry points of their lead capture strategy. I don't think they do anything else. I'm not sure. Adelina, if you're there, you dove a little bit deeper than I did with Caraway. If you saw anything, let us know. But I don't think that anything else was done. A couple of new, alternative ideas are you could pair this up with a social contest, like a social campaign, and run a lead gen initiative and campaign specifically in collecting emails. The downside of doing so is that you're collecting way more leads, but way lower intent. You're going to end up with a lot more work to be done with qualification. So if you're prepared to do that, then great. But if not, I'd say just stick to these. All right, Keith Toe is asking, I see Caraway uses SMS instead of WhatsApp. Will WhatsApp abandoned cart work better than SMS? In the US, no. Very much no. WhatsApp is very much a outside of the US thing. It's still picking up steam in the US. If you're in Australia, the UK, Europe, or Southeast Asia, WhatsApp will do really well. But it would likely be a good alternative to SMS. But in the US, definitely not. Okay, so we answered that. Simon has a similar question. Okay, Tristan has a question. If you did a lead gen competition, what sort of email flow would you put those leads into? Great question. It really depends on the context of that contest and the context of your initial offer. So the way that I would structure this, kind of roughly speaking, is you'd have a big giveaway, and you have to figure out a way to make everyone a winner, whether that be a discount code off their first order or a gift of purchase off their first order, or something of that nature. That's going to give you that initial filter and immediate capture of potential conversions. And then you got to put everyone through a nurturing sequence of effectively introducing your business, your value prop, and everything else about your products to that list of customers. You got to treat them as if they know nothing about your business. So it's going to be a little bit more extensive and in-depth than a traditional welcome series alone. Because with a welcome series, you can safely assume that they know a little bit about your business, they know a little bit about the products and what they have to sell because they've came through an ad typically. But with a giveaway, lead gen competition, you get low intent leads. So you have to nurture and educate. There you go. Hope that helps. All right, Nico, back to you.
It's all switching. Great. All right, cool. So jumping off in the exact same spot we did with Caraway, but for congruency now with Glossier. So if we look at, and I guess just like a quick reminder on congruency is just how well does the ad or wherever the person came from match to the experience we're serving them. Right off the get-go, I think like we're going to see a lot of the same of what Josh found is that they go for aesthetics and being cute more than they go for making money. And it's very clear throughout their whole funnel. So I don't hit too much on that. We'll talk a little bit about that later, but from a congruency perspective, they're running ads for a product that's called Milky Jelly Cleanser. Crazy name. I don't really know what it is, but insane name. Pushing to a collection page that starts out with the winter skincare survival guide. If I'm clicking on this ad, am I looking for a winter skincare survival guide? Probably not, right? The user's probably looking for more info on the Milky Jelly Cleanser. So pushing this to a product page or something that's a little bit more direct for this would be a little bit better, in my opinion, for a bottom of funnel ad. when we talk about when to push to collection pages and when not, and I will give them some credit that at least they have that product in that first card. You could see the same product here, but it does require the customer to scroll a little bit. There is maybe a 1.5 seconds of like, am I in the right spot? I wanted to see more info here. We're adding in another click. It's just not the best experience. But when we're trying to figure out when do we use that sort of destination as a landing page, we want to think about it through the lens of more top of funnel, right? So this one, new year, new kitchen, we talked about this before, works really well because it's not talking about one specific product. Milky Jelly Cleanser ad that literally just has the name of the product, and that's pretty much it. I think it says like Soothe, Hydrate, and something else on the ad. It's talking about just one product. So sending it to a product page where you can see other products and get confused is not always the best idea for a bottom of funnel ad. This ad actually has a fairly low impression count, which maybe is because of their their post-click destination, right? Maybe it's not performing well and not getting spend because it's not going to the right spot. There's too much confusion. So if I was to redo this, I would push it directly to that product page, right? So Milky Jelly Cleanser to the Milky Jelly Cleanser page. I feel like I'm just trying to say Milky Jelly Cleanser as many times as possible, but pushing this to the product page would be more effective here, right? Someone's clicking on this because they're clearly interested in this product, not Glossier as a whole. So that'd be my first kind of tip for them. They are doing this well in some other instances, right? So we see it with this perfume. They have the kind of the Glossier Duo where they have the big size, the 50 ml, the 6 ml, 8 ml, all for $88. Pushing to a product page. This is perfect. It's the same picture. You know you're in the right spot. You scroll down here, you see the $88 claim. This is perfect. This is what they should be doing more of. Another example, they're doing a fantastic job here. This is almost as good as Caraway with the exact same image, right? We can see that this is the Cookie Bomb. I'm going to stop saying their product names because they're ridiculous, but this is the same picture, right? It's the same exact photo. You know you're in the right spot. No one's clicking on this and being like, oh, how do I find the Cookie Bomb? It's like, okay, you know it's the same photo, right? So 2 good calls from them. But looking at their ad account as a whole, there's definitely more room for improvement across the whole ad catalog, right? A lot of UGC ads going to the wrong places as well. So yeah, they should absolutely clean up from a congruency perspective. One area that they do very well, and I know Josh, you talked about this a little bit as well. Like with beauty, personalization is everything. And we've worked with a lot of beauty brands, some of the bigger players in the space as well. And what we found and what we continue to find with beauty, apparel, jewelry, things like that, is people want to see the product on them. They want to understand how it works for them. Everyone has their own skin type. Everyone has their own skin color. Everyone has their own hair color. And then people want to be able to see the product as it relates to them, right? So from a personalization perspective, well, I don't agree with everything they're doing here. I think for example, their fonts are a little bit unlegible to the majority of users. Things aren't always mobile optimized. So there's a lot that we can critique from a UX UI perspective, but for this example, we'll ignore that. They do have offshoots to the custom skincare sets on the collection page and in the top bar, which is great to see from a brand that has hundreds of products, right? I can get dumped into this page and say, okay, wow, they have all these different balms for my face. They have all these lip glosses. They have all these different things. Which ones make sense for me, right? And from a personalization perspective, I might not even know I need more than one of these. I might just be looking for one thing. So to help someone build their routine, their own custom skincare set is actually a great play from Glossier. This is what the flow looks like. Again, I'm not going to talk about the fonts and colors and things like that. It can absolutely be cleaned up, but they do have a good process of kind of taking you through the whole journey, right? So you start with step number 1, you need a cleanser. Step number 2, you need a treat, whatever that means. Number 3, you get moisturizer. Number 4, skincare, and then you have add-ons. And it takes you through this process where you can select one, and then you move on to the next step. What they do really well here is they make it very intuitive on mobile, which I like a lot. I think a lot of brands, at least brands of this scale, tend to focus on desktop because it's prettier and it's more brand focused. But this is very optimized from a mobile perspective. So you go to cleanser, you can see the options here. Now I can see at a glance, okay, this is a pH gel cleanser that's suitable for all skin types. Say I'm going into this with dry skin and I want to know, okay, which cleanser do I go to? I know that there's a little blurb here that'll tell me more and say, okay, it's good for all skin types. Now I can move forward with this product. However, they also have that small details, which I'll share more on the ingredients. Say I'm allergic to, I don't know, fragrances, for example. It's important for me to know, hey, does this have a fragrance? Does this have something that's going to bug me? And these are all things that people are thinking about when they're going through and buying products that go in them or go on them, right? So beauty, CPG, supplements, people are constantly thinking about themselves and how it relates to their own personal issues and limitations, as well as their own preferences. Like If we were talking about a supplement brand, it might be like, okay, does this thing have sugar or does it have stevia? Like, I hate the taste of stevia, right? For this product, it's like it's the same sort of thing. I need to see what's in this. Is it going to react with my rosacea? Is it going to react with my whatever it might be? So the fact that they have this the C details pop up that gives you more information on the product is a great play here. And they also have this blurb that lets you move a little bit faster. If you are someone who doesn't have many limitations, you can rip through this whole flow, which is great. Once you get past all of the deciding and all the decision making here, you get to meet your custom skincare kit, which shows, okay, here's all the ones you selected. You can go back and edit here. And then right below this screen grab all the way to the right, you can see there's actually a button, which I don't show here, but there's a button that says checkout, and it just goes directly to checkout with this kit. So it makes it very easy. It's a very, like what we'll call, like, it's like a virtual in-store associate experience, right? Like someone's holding your hand and walking you through how to build a routine, how to find the right products, and helping you like literally carry you to checkout, right? So this is great for new people and cold traffic. But yeah, I think from a personalization perspective, they do a 10 out of 10 job here, with the exception of some of their design choices, which I'm not going to get into. So objection handling. We talked about this before. One of the biggest things is this legit, right? So people are going to talk about, okay, I know I want this, insert weird product name here, to take away my makeup. How well does it do that, right? So now they have a clinical study allegedly that says 100% of people agree it's great, 100% of people say their skin looks good after, and 100% of people say it dissolves long wearing makeup. To me, this is, my bullshit meter is going off. Like, there's no way that every single person in the world says that this is perfect, right? So like, there should be some data here that suggests, okay, this was a survey of 100 past customers, and it was 98% of them, 99.9, and 78% of them, right? Like, real, more authentic numbers will make this more believable. So having the proof and having the social proof of or clinical studies here is super powerful, and it's great that they have it on the product page. However, I think that they're missing the mark a little bit here and making it a little too good to be true. They're starting to set off the amygdalas in our brains and making it seem like there's no way everyone it's perfect for, right? Their UGC, again, great idea, but poor execution. Like, this is a very, like, this person has clearly like good lighting. This is a higher quality camera. It's a deliberate shot with the product. If they were to show a random person who's between the age demographic they're after in her bathroom with like a UGC-esque iPhone camera, that'll perform 10 times better than this studio shot, which, like, okay, a human's doing this, but how real is this human, right? Could this be a paid model? Could this be a process shoot, right? So the execution here is poor. The idea is great. So I think if you're in beauty, if you're in anything that goes in your body or on your body, you need to have these sorts of things. But I would, kind of like how Caraway keeps their 1-star reviews, I'd go more toward the side of authentic. I think it's more important to be real and to be legit than it is to kind of overinflate 100% of everyone loves our product. It's nonsense, right? But the idea is great from an objection handling perspective. One thing I do want to call out that they do really well in all of their product pages is they help you figure out what it'll look like for you. Like I said before, like, people always are looking for themselves in these products, right? We worked with a jewelry brand not too long ago, and we did customer surveys where we interviewed 50 of their best customers, and we asked them, hey, when you went to this product page, like, what were you looking for? Like, what was in your head when you went here? And we interviewed this one woman. She was about 65, and she was like, well, I was looking for someone with really pale skin and black hair because that's what I have, and I wanted to see someone who was wearing this, I think it was earrings, with the same color skin and same color hair, which is interesting, right? It's people are looking for themselves in these sorts of products. Beauty is a great example of this. Apparel is another example of this. If you are 110 pounds, you want to see someone in this outfit in 110 pounds. If you're 6'5", you want to see someone 6'5" wearing that product. Same thing goes for this stuff, right? You want to see what the ginger snap bomb looks like on lips that are similar to yours, right? At least in terms of complexion, color, things like that. So they do a great job on all of their PDPs of showing some diversity in terms of, like, hey, this is how it looks across the board. If it's not what you like, that's fine. But at least now the person knows, and they can handle that objection of, like, I'm not sure what this would look like on my skin. I'm not sure what this would look like on my lips, right? So they make it very easy. Not a lot of guesswork here in terms of what it'll look like, and they make it more personal, which I think is great work from them. I think these images are great. Okay, moving on to ease of navigation. How quickly can you get on the site? How quickly can you find what you're looking for? Glossier is a very large brand, right? People know them from walking on the street. People have used their products in the past. There's a lot of like Josh was saying, brand equity here, right? People come to the site looking for a specific thing. So it's important for us to be able to get people where they want fast. Right now on their homepage, they have a hero section, which I'm not going to get into. Again, just poor design choices. Then they have bestsellers. And then below that, they have some categories, which like from a structure perspective is not bad from a hierarchy perspective. However, here they're only showing shop skincare and shop makeup, which like the majority of their users probably are falling into one of these two buckets. But if you look in the top here, and you can't really see it because the font is small, but they also sell fragrances. They also sell body. They also sell Glossier goods and sets and things like that that are missed on this homepage. So if I'm a repeat customer and I say, okay, I saw a cool ad this week on TV or somewhere about Glossier, I'm just going to go check out what they have. And then I land here and I'm like, oh, I really heard that fragrances are really good. It's not overly easy to find from the homepage, right? There's always a navigation. So like they're doing a good job there. But from here, there could be other blocks that show and give you offshoots to the product category that you might be looking for to make it a little bit smoother for you to get to where you want a little bit faster, right? And again, this goes back to the conversation of like, I have no data, right? There's a chance that they ran this as a split test and they found that the people who go to fragrance don't buy because it's hard to smell a product through the internet, right? So like maybe they're intentionally not doing that. So I'm just going to say that as well, that like maybe this was split tested and this is the most lucrative two offshoot buttons here. But I think by and large, you should think about your whole catalog and think about where's the traffic coming from. We look at home pages usually as a fairly warm traffic point where people are usually coming back from a Google search of like Glossier, whatever. And in those instances, we want to make it easy for people to find whatever it is that they're looking for. So ease of navigation could be a little bit better. Moving on to some other things that they do well throughout their funnel. One thing I think they do well with filtering is they have non-generic filters. A lot of brands you go and you'll see their filter and it's like, oh, like bestsellers, which like great, that's great sorting. But like filters might be like, oh, like pink shade. Again, not super helpful for a skincare and makeup brand. What is super helpful here is skin type, right? So like I said before, like say I'm coming into this with dry skin, I can then click on a skincare type or skin type filter. Show me the products that are good for dryness and normal skin, whatever it might be. So they have a very good process of getting people to get that 100 product catalog down to the ones that actually matter to them, right? If I have really dry skin, I don't want a product that helps make your skin drier, right? Like it doesn't make sense for me. So this helps kind of sort more into the personalization. I guess they do a good job from a personalization perspective of helping you figure out where you belong and show you the products that you need. So yeah, this is another great find from them. There's like, again, a lot that could be a little bit better from a design perspective, at least in terms of usability. Like the buttons here on the add to bag button, there's a chance that these would probably be better running to product pages instead of going straight to cart, right? Like I'm seeing, okay, priming moisturizer for buildable hydrating cream. Like, okay, great. But like, maybe I want to learn if there's fragrance in it because I'm allergic, right? Like sending person directly to bag, maybe not the best for a product this complex. Maybe pushing these to PDP, adding some social proof here. I think adding some review counts. Like if I would imagine this has thousands of reviews, like let's just show that here with a star count. But again, they probably don't think it looks as good from a brand perspective, which is why it's not there. But there should be 2.5K reviews right here. And then linking to a product page where then that product then becomes able to buy. Again, maybe a split test, should be a split test. They might have data that I don't have. These buttons are also not very user-friendly. It's like, I don't really know where the button starts and stops. This looks like an ADA nightmare from like a compliance perspective. But I would imagine they probably know that and it's part of the brand. Yeah, okay. So that's my thoughts on ease of navigation. So just kind of wanting to recap both Caraway and Glossier, kind of how I would audit a brand and how I went through this and things that maybe you guys could do for your brands. Choosing which landing page is a very big decision. Figuring out where the person came from and where they're going is super important. So see what is the user expecting to see is the first question you're going to ask yourself. And the second one is, what do we think they should know next? What do we tell them next? How do we continue this sales process for that person? If I click on an ad that is a green hat, I want to see that green hat. That's why I clicked on it, right? Don't take me to a page where I have to search for that green hat. If I'm clicking on an ad that says like PFAs are bad for you, and I'm not talking about the product, then I want to be sent to a page that talks more about PFAs and then can let me see what the product is on why PFAs are bad for you. So choosing a landing page experience, I'd be very deliberate about what you choose and making sure that it's congruent experience, but also being mindful of like, what do we think the customer deserves and should see next? And then split testing that until you figure out what that optimal funnel looks like. Second thing you guys can all do right now, and I think we do this with every brand we work with for way too much time, is role play as a customer and try to find things on your site. Was it easy to find? Are there unnecessary steps? Is there friction? Was there any point where you're like, oh, wait a minute, how do I get to this? Or how do I do that? Right? Watching your actual customers through recordings is also an interesting thing to do, right? Figuring out how quickly someone can get from homepage to checkout if they wanted to. Like we don't have to force people through as fast as we can, but we have to make it easy for someone to find what they want. Caraway does a great job of this. Glossier, not as much. So figuring out how quickly can we get someone through and figuring out all the unnecessary steps and then getting rid of them. Last one, asking yourself how believable are my unique selling propositions? It takes off 100% of makeup 100% of the time for 100% of people. Not very believable, right? What can we do that makes it more believable? Where can I add in social proof? Where can I add in doctors? Where can I add in third-party studies? Where can I add in anything that will help this person believe what I'm trying to say? Because people, at least in the United States, have very, very strong, everyone doubts everything they see on the internet because the internet's a ridiculous place, right? So as marketers, we have to try to figure out what's the best way to get past that. UGC, showing unique or like real user-generated content, real humans that look real, feel real, and then adding in some authority where we can is usually the best way to add proof, add believability to anything that you're selling. But yeah, so that's like my three sort of tips if you're going to go and audit your brand, and what you can kind of take away from what we found here. It's good that we had some good examples from Caraway and some not so great examples from Glossier. But hopefully this was helpful, and I'll be around here for any questions.
Hello guys, I'm Filippo, partner and head of Google Ads at Echelon, the best Google Ads agency for e-commerce. Today we're gonna show you a breakdown of Glossier's strategy on Google Ads. We're gonna highlight what they nailed. That could be actually great reminders or advices for any brand advertising on Google Ads, and still what they have to improve, what they could do to have a better client acquisition on Google Ads. Also here, pretty common themes that we see in the market that could be helpful for many. So we try to be a little bit nicer than our last audit on Caraway, and let's start then focusing on the positives. So what they do nicely is definitely search brand protection. That's pretty simply common, first layer of usage Google Ads. What we can appreciate here is how they differentiate also their search brand protection by longer tail keywords, still branded. So we can see on the left, generic ad copy for people searching just for the brand, while instead they have a specific here ad for a specific product, so the hoodie in this case. So in general, on brand protection search, they're doing quite of a good job, while instead on shopping is another story we're going to cover later. One thing that we noticed by digging deeper in their UTMs is that they separate, and that's of course super important for every brand, especially popular brands. They separate non-branded, you see here UTM campaign non-brand, all right, versus branded. So that's so important in Google Ads in order to focus on customer acquisition. So that's something definitely well done on their Google Ads account that we can see via their UTMs. No, in general, you can get to know stuff about your competitors by analyzing their UTMs, clicking on their ads. Then something else that they're doing nicely is just a basic of shopping ads that, for example, we saw extremely negative for Caraway. Here we have a high positive review count, consistent across the board. There are no variants like we saw, for example, for Caraway, in which you've got some 5 stars, 9K, and then you have like 2 stars, and it's like the same product kind of. It's like, wait a minute, right? Here is consistent and is matching the landing page. So if we Now we switch to the products, right? And if we click on a 9K product, as you can see, consistent across the board, we would land on the right page, 10,000 reviews. So the 9K on Google are even in a way conservative, right? But not that different. So it's kind of believable. That's very important, especially for new customers. So that's what they're doing right. Now let's go deeper into what they use for search. This is a page that we found on search, not searching for, in this particular case, nourishing lip balm. So we focus on, let's say, a secondary product for them, not on the perfume, right? Now here we see a GIF of their of the product page, right? And let me show you maybe the page directly on Google. So by the way, we got it before. So let me close this one. We got here the product pages, right, that they're using on shopping. We're gonna talk about it. But if we just remove all the UTMs and here we put pages, right, we're gonna find the landing page that they're using on non-branded campaign as a landing page, activating on search and most likely also on YouTube or whatnot, if they have creatives on non-branded campaigns for that. Makes more sense, of course, to look at it in, let's say, a vertical mobile format, right? And we can see the difference, right, between this page and a normal product page. So the page, being a landing page, has been designed for delivering a story to new customers, right? So of course, they're talking about instant nourishment, so benefit, addictive taste, so presenting value proposition at the very beginning, and calling themselves iconic, viral. So you immediately understand that it's not just a newish company, right? They are doing it for a long time. They can call themselves iconic and viral without, fear of being a little bit exaggerating, right? It's a big brand, so you immediately get this perception. Then we have some imagery. They do a great job, especially below. Then they go on with a value proposition, with the narrative of the brand. You understand that they're doing this since 2014. So again, very, very trustworthy brand. Think about it, new customers, right? This is a page that using campaigns that are non-branded, right? So you're not searching for Glossier, no matter how big we are. You are not searching for us. So let us tell you our story, right? Very important. So details about that, trustworthy, idea passed to the clients. Then we have, again, all the tastes, okay, all the flavors. Finally here and only here we start to have, okay, you're ready to buy? You can. If not, they're gonna guide you through their, let's say, palette of flavors. And to be honest, their imagery is phenomenal. It's extremely sexy. They have one image and a description, a very nice description for each of their flavors. You can keep scrolling and you can immediately get the feeling that you want to experience these products, right? And then at the end, you also have this section where they tell you more about ingredients, about formulas. Of course, a lot of people nowadays are interested in this stuff, on the science, on the quality of the ingredients. So they also have this part. And then you close the page in a pretty normal way with other products, especially their best sellers, and just the generic information about them. You can subscribe and some question and information at the bottom. So pretty nice page for new customers. So this awareness about brand versus non-branded and the creation of pages just for non-branded customers, this in particular for search, we found for nourishing lip balm, right? Which, it's pretty relevant and pretty, you understand you're in the right place already from the beginning. So this for sure, all positives from the brand. Now, let's see what they could do. What they could do better, and we start from we focus on shopping. Now we've seen a few things that are done correctly there. For example, the reviews. We're going to see more structural things from Merchant Center being positive. Now, what they could do better. Let's go and check the page itself. So here I was searching for a branded search. We see how they protect the brand pretty well in that sense. So it's not a problem. But what if I'm searching for a more non-branded term? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Oh, come on. All right, there we go. So here we go. Here, I'm just searching for moisturizer lip balm, all right? And I can see the product, right? One of their products. Of course, I was browsing and browsing their website. So Google is pushing it a little bit in the first position for me. Everyone is going to have a different experience, but let's analyze here the situation. I was already spending a little bit of time here on shopping, so scrolling, all right, the carousel, and Google expanded the experience for me in order to see more of the title, for example. So number one thing to note is that their titles are definitely not optimized, right? They have the proper product name, right? So their balm is called balm.com. So .com is the specific name. It's not going to say anything to someone that is searching for non-branded keywords like, customer acquisition. They're not going to guess the name. They're not going to search for it. And then you have just the, in this case, the flavor that was picked by Google. So literally the only keyword here is balm. They could literally be anything. Of course, Google knows this is a lip balm, etc. I'm searching for them and navigating their website so I can still get the listing, but definitely it's not an optimized experience. You see other examples here, some of which could be maybe managed by us as well. Some good example, who knows? So you see here the keywords, right? We could have, you see here, lip enhancement, complex, blah, blah, blah. Here we have hydrating, healing, ointment, fragrance-free, allergen-free. This one is focusing on some ingredients like hyaluronic acid and coconut oil, etc., etc. No, a bit of sizes, like how big is this, how much of the product I get in this specific case. So definitely in terms of prospecting keywords, titles are terrible. So this is not kind of, they did a pretty good separation apparently in their campaigns, being aware of brand versus non-brand importance in Google Ads, but then they didn't really optimize their product feed for prospecting keywords, so non-branded. Obviously, as we can see, when we search for bottom of funnel keywords, so product-related keyword, Google is gonna prioritize strongly the shopping carousel versus search, for example, right? So it's incredibly important to optimize shopping for non-branded new customers, not only search that we saw they optimize, at least in terms of the funnel. And also, we're not seeing that here, but I could tell you also the ad copy was pretty optimized. So search experience was optimized, but definitely shopping is more important. So what they could do, first of all, optimize their titles so they could have more keywords, right? In this case, you can see like some of the brands here almost look like they didn't have time to even finish writing their listing, right? And especially theirs is, I would argue, the worst in this specific case. Literally no keyword, just balm. There could be anything. What else they could do? Another thing that they are not leveraging enough is the imagery. We saw before in their funnel that they have incredible images, extremely sexy. They're not using it on shopping. As you can see already here, you can see this one, maybe this one, also this one with a little strawberry there. You can be extremely creative, and there are not many boundaries nowadays when it comes to images. So you can definitely push more there. We saw before, like here, they're starting to use a little bit some of these images for bundles. Here you see a trio product that definitely is not going to be one of the main sellers for sure. Usually bundles are never the best option for new customers. Shopping is heavily focused on price, and of course bundles instead are more expensive, right? And also it's pretty rare that people know how to optimize the attributes. So Google understands it's a bundle. There are specific attributes for that. I don't think a company that didn't optimize titles at all knows how to optimize fields for bundles. And also the image here could be a little bit off because obviously we're talking about a trio. So I think it's not going to be just strawberry taste. So anyway, a little bit off. What instead they could test for sure, using this type of images for the individual tastes, for example, flavors that we see here, no? So they could use some of those beautiful imagery we saw on the funnel. So that's one thing they could do. So optimize the titles, big time for prospecting, acquiring new customer, Their current title is good only for people that they know already, people that are searching for Balm.com or Glossier or, okay, literally 3 words, right? So not good. Images, they could be bolder. And we're going to see potentially they can also play with landing pages, because you can play with landing pages also on shopping. So as they know on search, they should send people to a funnel instead of just the product page. It looks like that, nothing like the funnel that we saw, right? This one, different, right? Customized for new customers. They can do the same. They should do the same. This is more complex. I forgive them for not knowing that, but they could do the same on shopping. You can see here an example from a UK pretty big brand for cat food, right? So you see here, here's a branded search. They have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 listings, right? Look at that. They all have different images. They have different beginning of titles, right? Food for senior cats, etc., etc. But what happens if I click on any of the listings, like let's say this one, that one, all right, forgive me, but yeah, it's all public information there. I don't land on a product page, but I actually land on the same exact page for every single listing, right? I'm going to remove all the UTM stuff just to be clear. And I'm actually landing on a LP, you see, like here in the URL, and actually was customized specifically for Google Shopping. And you see, this is a similar, logic as their customized page for search. They are optimizing for new customers, so they prioritize the brand's narrative, value proposition, USPs, etc. Trust touch points, like the stars, right? And basically, like pushing the CTA in a second moment, right? It's not a commodity, food, even pet food, skincare, supplements, etc. They're not commodities. New customers are not just, okay, this is what I was looking for, add to cart, buy. It's not a commodity, right? So they want to buy the brand first, and with custom landing pages, you can do that. For example, this brand is pushing a lot on the fact that their meals are fresh, that they have the most, meat percentage in their food, etc., etc. No? So in a similar way, they could push on their brand, right, on shopping. So they could use, coming back maybe to this example, that would be a good one for them. They could differentiate their single, I would focus there, of course, the lowest price, their single flavors. They could play with images, right? By the way, they could, as you can see, literally duplicate listings if they knew how to do it properly. But even without getting that advanced, they could test different imagery for those single product listings. They could definitely optimize the titles. Not difficult at the moment. They are kind of level 0 for prospecting. And very importantly, they could play with landing pages just for shopping, right? This is something, again, that you can do if you are advanced in feed management and general Google Merchant Center management. Right, so that's all stuff they could do better for expanding the customer acquisition on shopping. And it's clear they would be happy about it. So it's just a knowledge gap, because as we saw, they are already doing it for search, where they have that specific landing page for new customers, right? So just their shopping knowledge probably is not that advanced. Now, to finish instead with some positives, we see here their merchant center set up. It's done pretty nicely. We went and checked that. By the way, you can check it too. If you go, let's say here for the branded stuff, let's see if it works here. Shopping, if I can do it quickly. So if you go to the shopping tab, you switch to the organic results, you ignore the ads, and here you can get more information. So here, just clicking on the product. All right, I can see I can buy from their website, and I can go on the 3 dots, and I'm gonna get a lot of information. So I see they are a top quality store for Google. So they got different parameters depending on their customer service, on their website experience done right? So that's pretty cool. They have store ratings, 4.9 thousand, 4.4. Also, there is this, additional identifies as women owned, that is something you can add potentially on Merchant Center. The payment methods, and especially what we checked, their delivery is set right, and it gives you a very short range. That's usually a mistake, like brands having 1 week ranges, and it's like, not very trustworthy. So that's pretty nice. The taxes that they're added here, they're correct, and this many times a mistake. So maybe brands here leave this tax setting open, active enabled, and actually they don't add extra tax at checkout. This is for US brands, of course, and instead here is correct. Delivery fee is correct. Everything looks pretty solid on that sense. And while instead, many of you, I bet, that if you go in the store quality section of Merchant Center and you check for your brand or your clients, you will find at least one or two things that are not right. That's what we always find. While instead here, it's pretty solid. And again, if you dig deeper in this way on the organic shopping side of things, you can get to know all of this even without having access to Merchant Center, which is pretty cool. All right, so that is all. So all in all, good, basics. So nice brand campaigns, brand search campaigns, solid review, synchronization, and it's pretty well mirrored in actual product pages. They separate campaigns, brand, non-brand, which is a big thing for us. So this already made us like the brand a little bit more, but they can do a lot better, especially on that non-brand side of things. Shopping optimization, feed optimization, titles, images, even landing pages, and they know they can use landing pages. They know that from search. Why not bring it to the bigger stage of shopping, which is much more important? And yeah, as a finish line, as a finish point, we also see a very good GMC setup, so that wouldn't be a problem. Here, they need to focus on product management, product listing management, feeds in general, not the let's say the hardware part of GMC, like shipping, returns, and stuff like that. That's pretty well done. All right, that was it. And yeah, hopefully we're gonna see their prospecting leveling. Do it again. All right, that was it. So pretty good basics. Could do more for customer acquisition. Let's see if 2026 is gonna be a good year for them to level this up. All right. Ciao, guys.
That was incredible, man. That's awesome. Damaging admissions. That's the key, man. It can't be perfect. No one believes perfect. Okay, let's see. Do we have questions? Questions in the room? You know what? We could do something fun if anyone's if it's convenient for you guys to speak. We could have a conversation kind of live in real time as well, and we could even unpack and tackle your specific situations. But if not, we could kind of close off the session. Let's see. Let's just give everyone some time. Okay, Nico, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Great question. On my website, we have a Calendly link to get in touch. The big, really hard to miss blue button that says get in touch links directly to my calendar. So anyone can book there and come meet with me. I'm also on LinkedIn and Twitter, both just Nico Moya is usually another good place to reach me, but my website is direct to my calendar.
Perfect. Easy. And check your inboxes. We'll be sending more details. Links will all be in the emails as well. The deck will be shared, and also including the ads audit from courtesy of Echelon will be coming in through your emails as well. And if you want to reach out to me, it's joshua@Agency, or you can go to our website to learn more about us. All right, with that, that's yeah. Go for it.
The calendar on your site is also linked to you.
Yeah, the calendar on my site is linked to me. You will be speaking with me if you book a time on my calendar on Agency.
That's rare.
Yeah, I know. Let's see. I've been holding on to that for a while now. I'm hoping to keep that going, but there will be a point in time where I'll need some help, and that might be the end of it. But
yeah,
everyone, Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for joining us live. If you're watching a recording of this, thank you as well. Nico, thank you for making this happen. This is awesome.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is great. Thanks, everyone.